Well, just a few hours ago, you saw one of the great wins in 49ers franchise history. I'm here to put perspective on this 13-10 victory over the Packers. Look at the visuals right next to me. It looked like a snow globe. It was against the presumptive league MVP. It was against the team that many were picking to win the Super Bowl. It was on short rest. Everything was on the line. This was the playoffs at Lambeau Field, the mecca of football, and the 49ers with everything stacked up against them, even as this game went along, in a microcosm of their wild season, notched one of the great wins in franchise history. You could safely say that this is up there, in the pantheon of greats, with that 88 NFC championship game at Soldier Field, where the 49ers proved that they weren't really a finesse team. They went out and beat the Bears. You talk about the great Packers wins, in the 1990s and the 2010s in the playoffs. Well, I mean, this one is right up there with them, and it could be elevated even to a higher status depending on where the 49ers finish up this season. This story is still not finished. We'll see where the 49ers end up after the NFC Championship game. And they've now qualified 5 times for the NFC Championship game in a decade, in the past 10 years. We'll see if they can win the Super Bowl. But this is all part of that story. And this one is going to be remembered for a long time. That's all that we can promise after this game. I've made the drive home from Lambeau Field. And by home, I mean a really sketchy motel in Appleton. I had no country for old men kind of vibe in this motel. I had to check out the vent to make sure there wasn't a suitcase in there. But then I just have to hit the road again. I mean, cars are sliding everywhere here. It's -2 degrees. I had to de-ice my lights. It's a good thing I'm still alive. Not sure if I will be after a night in this motel, but I love you guys. More content needed. Subscribe to the YouTube channel. And I know you guys are eating this stuff up right now after what was indeed one of the great wins in franchise history. So make sure that you check out the live from Lambeau Field. And we're going to go through a more formal setting at it's 5 a.m. right now. It's 5 a.m. So yeah, definitely subscribe to the channel. It's literally 5 a.m. No, I haven't slept. I just got home from Lambeau. I was the last person in the press box. There's a lot to talk about right now with 49ers football. My flight is at 1 p.m. I'll catch the Buccaneers-Rams game on the plane. That will determine who the 49ers play next. For now, we're going to talk about this instant classic. By the way, that's my article, Shattering Through the Snow Globe Inside the 49ers Final Drive Heroics to Win at Green Bay. If you want to read that, I'm putting it in the chat section now, and I'm going to put it in the comment section after this video is done. The 49ers, when Jimmy Garoppolo starts, are now 25-8 on the road and 14-5 as underdogs, which is the best win percentage in NFL history. It's time for all the haters to just come and admit defeat. Jimmy Garoppolo's a winner. He gets the job done. The advanced stats like him. I mean, today was played in a blizzard, so I don't think the advanced stats like Garoppolo or Aaron Rodgers. In fact, I haven't even checked them. If we want for giggles, we'll check them later. But you can't have your cake and eat it too. People say that QB wins aren't a stat. Well, I'm not saying that they're a statistic that analyzes quarterbacks in some kind of deep way, but winning is the ultimate goal. Jimmy Garoppolo wins. Look at that record on the road. Look at that record when the 49ers are underdogs. Look at his overall record. He finds a way to help the 49ers win games. Is he the sole reason that they win? No. Is he often not the primary reason that they win? Yes, right. Often the special teams, the defense, somebody else gets the job done. But guess what? This is a team sport. And the quarterback has to play at a certain level, especially for a team to consistently come out victorious. And the 49ers, when the chips are down, when Garoppolo has been healthy enough to play, have consistently come out victorious. And they've done so even when the odds are stacked against them. And if you listen to Garoppolo's teammates talk about him, you will understand that he deserves a lot of credit for what's going on. And, people trying to have their cake and eat it too will say, okay, well, the wins are the quarterback stat. Everybody else is doing it. And then, okay, so you come back with some advanced stats that show that Garoppolo's great on third down, that Garoppolo converts in money situations. Those don't count either. EPA per play, DVOA, that only counts for Mahomes. Doesn't count for Garoppolo, even though he ranks in the top 5. Well, pick one or the other. Do wins matter or do the stats matter? Because Garoppolo is delivering both. Today, he delivered the win on that final drive. And just look to see what George Kittle said about Jimmy Garoppolo. Jimmy G, you can't say enough about that guy. The shit that he takes, consistently people try to pull him down, and consistently all he does is deliver. He leads the team. He's the sense of calm in the huddle. He's the sense of calm in the storm. He allows us to play football at a high level. He's the sense of calm in the storm. Think about how poetic that is when the 49ers were literally playing in this. This is a picture of the 49ers taking a snap near midfield on the game's winning drive. You go to the Athletic, you'll be able to see this closer. I could even zoom in for you right here. This might help. This is taken with my iPhone. The field is starting to turn white. In about 30 minutes to an hour, it would be completely coated in snow. There are snow flurries, as you can see here, just whipping through the air at Lambeau. It's 2 degrees, maybe wind chill and the negative factor, but that snow is hitting people in the face. It's piercing cold. It feels like icicles stabbing you in the face if you're, don't have your face covered or protected. And that's what the 49ers offense, which had a lot go against it. Garoppolo had a lot go against him between bad pass protection and drops. That was the setting that the 49ers offense entered this situation. And Garoppolo completed 2 passes to set up Deebo Samuel's run on 3rd and 7. I'll talk a little bit more about that later. 9-yard run, puts Robbie Gould into field goal range. Not only do the 49ers nail through the winning points, they also do so as time expires because of excellent clock management. Remember, they had to burn over 3 minutes to make sure that Aaron Rodgers did not get a chance to rebut. In week 3, Rodgers got a chance to rebut, even after Garoppolo scored the go-ahead touchdown. This time, Aaron Rodgers didn't have a chance to rebut. And you know what we call that? We call that perfect winning football. When the chips were down, the 49ers got it done. The leader of the offense, the quarterback, whether you like it or not, is Jimmy Garoppolo. And his teammates talk that way, and his teammates talk about how his fighting spirit, his underdog mentality, his never give up attitude fuels the rest of this team's vibe. That's just the truth of the matter. And, any really detraction has just been proven wrong time and time and time again. The stat and the numbers, the wins, whatever you want to use to gauge this are right here. Or you could actually use the commentary from the 49ers in the locker room about how important of a glue and binding piece Jimmy Garoppolo is to be able to deliver what he did in the conditions that we saw today. Again, this was one of the great wins in franchise history. I think the Rams win in week 18 is going to go down as one of the great wins in franchise history. What the 49ers did against the Cowboys last week is going to be remembered for a while. I think it's on a lower echelon. But the bottom line is the 49ers in 2 straight weeks have now vanquished, what a lot of people, I grew up in the 90s. So I remember the 49ers playing the Cowboys in the 90s, struggling to beat them and then finally getting over the hump, then struggling to beat the Packers and getting over the hump. Guys, in a 6-day stretch, the 49ers just beat both of these teams, the Cowboys and the Packers, on the road in the playoffs. Never mind the fact the Cowboys had the number 1 offense in the NFL and the Packers had the number 2 offense in the NFL. And the 49ers went to both places, beat Dak Prescott in Dallas and Aaron Rodgers in Green Bay in back-to-back weeks. And the winning quarterback, the guy who made enough plays on the other side of the ball to, kind of help glue the whole effort together, was Jimmy Garoppolo over Prescott, then over Rodgers. Rodgers now 0-4 in his career against the 49ers in the playoffs. Garoppolo's now 2-0 against the Packers, and Rodgers in his career in the playoffs. The guy somehow, some way gets it done, and the 49ers as a team have embodied that. Epic special teams redemption for the 49ers. I mean, this was one of the most fascinating subplots of this football game. The 49ers were number 27 in special teams DVOA on the season. We know how bad the performance was at Dallas. They went for a punt block and it got the Cowboys back in the game. 49ers weren't able to do anything in the return game. They gave up too much in the coverage game. And then, of course, the Dallas fake. The 49ers were completely ill prepared for it. Josh Norman was actually the player that got burned on the fake. But on Tuesday, when they first started planning for the Packers, the 49ers realized that Green Bay had the worst special teams unit in the league. Yes, even worse than their own. In fact, the 49ers knew from experience in week 3, Trenton Cannon, he had the big kick return to kickstart the 49ers when they were down 17-0. They knew from experience that they could capitalize on Green Bay's special teams. So what do? They came out and they blocked a field goal. They blocked a punt. They returned a big kick that set up, drive for points by risking something and putting Deebo Samuel in there at kick return. And they also covered really well, and they didn't screw anything else up. This was Richard Hightower's great revenge. When the 49ers absolutely needed it, the special teams beat the crap out of Green Bay special teams and played a top-tier game. Now, I can't wait to see the advanced analytics to see how many points the 49ers got through special teams, because there have been games this year that the 49ers have lost due to special teams. Both games against Seattle, the worst phase of the game by far was the special teams unit. 49ers would not have lost to an inferior Seahawks team had they held serve on special teams. Well, in poetic fashion, this one came back to shine on the 49ers, and they won that special teams battle. Of course, the defense also did a great job for the 49ers. 2.5 yards per play in the second half allowed by the 49ers defense. In fact, it was the punch out by Fred Warner of Mercedes Lewis that turned this game around. Aaron Rodgers saw success on the first drive, and he was seeing some success on the second drive. And then the 49ers were able to stabilize. And they're able to stabilize through heroic performances like this one. I mean, I made the baseball analogy. Dante Johnson, who had a fill-in for Ambry Thomas, who was out with a bone bruise in his knee, and then Johnson also got hurt at the end of the game. So the 49ers had to put on a pinch hit at bat on top of a pinch hit at bat. But I said before the game that Dante Johnson was going to have to come into this game and just deliver a quality AB for the 49ers, if we were talking in baseball terms. It was going to be like the 8th inning, and they needed Dante Johnson to get up there and fight off a few pitches, work the count, make the pitcher struggle a little bit, then let the other guys clean up. They didn't need Dante Johnson to be a world beater, and he was by no means a world beater throughout a lot of this game. In fact, I think early on, Green Bay on that first drive was having their way in the short game. The 49ers needed enough from their coverage to fuel the pass rush. And on that first drive, they weren't doing the job, right? It was Rodgers to Adams, Rodgers to Aaron Jones, Dante Johnson missing a tackle, Rodgers getting the ball out quickly, and the 49ers not being able to get home as a result, and obviously Green Bay scoring a touchdown. The pinch hit performance that the 49ers would need from Dante Johnson would involve playing good enough, sound enough technique on the back end so that he wouldn't be this massive liability, so there wouldn't be these gaping holes for Rodgers to hit in 2.3 seconds every time so the pass rush could get home. Well, Johnson tightened the screws. He fought off those pitches. He hung tough. He was an embodiment of what this 49ers team does so well. And the defense started forcing 3 and out after 3 and out after 3 and out, 2.5 yards per play in the second half. That was awesome from Dante Johnson. That was awesome from the whole 49ers defense. They dominated the number 1 and the number 2 offenses on the road, Dallas and Green Bay, in consecutive weeks. This is epic, historic stuff from the 49ers defense that I'll put into greater perspective with an article tomorrow. As you can see, my article today was about that final drive, punctuated by Robbie Gould's field goal. But there was more to this, and it was that defense that played so well. And hell, when I write tomorrow or today, because it's 5:15 a.m., I may make the point that this defense might be better than the 2019 defense because they're grittier, they're tougher, they're more battle-tested. And a great example of battle-testedness today is when Dante Johnson, the guy I was just talking about, when his great pinch hit at bat was over, when he got hurt, the 49ers still needed to stop. And much maligned Josh Norman, the 34-year-old corner who's been benched and was hated by the entire 49ers fan base, came into the game because he was the 49ers' final option. Deommodore Lenoir and Ambry Thomas were both inactive. When Josh Norman comes into the game, and you know that Aaron Rodgers was a wolf. He smells blood in the water. He knew that Norman was vulnerable to PIs. He knew that Norman was a 34-year-old who'd been sitting cold on the bench in 0-degree weather. He knew he was going to go after him with one of the best receivers in football, in Davante Adams. And he went after him right away. And guess who held up in coverage on that first play? The old man, the 34-year-old, Josh Norman. If that's not an embodiment and a reflection of who these 49ers are as a team. He's a veteran and could have just packed it in. He was embarrassed on that special teams play against Dallas last week. Norman didn't pack it in. He was ready to play at Lambeau Field. He didn't care what people on Twitter were saying. He got the job done on that play for the 49ers. Great coverage of Devontae Adams, forced another Packers 3-and-out, gave San Francisco a chance to win this game. So that's the pinch hit at bats. The Giants forge and slip. The 49ers are like this baseball team that just keeps on coming through in the clutch when it absolutely matters. When the bases are loaded in the bottom of the ninth and there are 2 outs and they're down by 2 or 3 runs, they get the hit. They rip one down the line. They smash one into the gap, but they do it with their pinch hitters. I mean, Dante Johnson had the big pinch hit at bat to work the count, and then Josh Norman kept the line moving with his single. Bottom 8, bottom 9, wherever you want it to happen. Obviously, the biggest pinch hit at bat was the punt block today, not the fake punt. The punt block. And Jordan Willis did it with a high ankle sprain. So, I mean, we could go baseball all day because I think there's enough poetry in this 49ers season that baseball is a good analogy. But Jordan Willis, I mean, basically setting up 2 blocks and getting the second block on his own on a high ankle sprain, which was the bane of the 49ers' existence. I mean, that injury derailed an entire season. The fact that Jordan Willis had a high ankle sprain last Sunday, somehow came back this week, right? It's normally a 6-week recovery, came back right away and delivered the pinch hit home run that tied the game in the bottom 8th or bottom 9th inning with that punt block. The fact he did that, I mean, it's mind-blowing what happened on that field at Lambeau Field. To a negative, the 49ers pass protection was rough, but they found a way to get it done. Laken Tomlinson got steamrolled by Zadarius Smith early. Jimmy Garoppolo didn't have a chance. Then Tom Compton got steamrolled by Rashawn Gary a couple times. Pocket was caving on Garoppolo, who was the only offensive player to show up in the first quarter. I mean, there's a lot of really stupid takes on Twitter trying to blame Jimmy Garoppolo for the first quarter when the pocket was caving in on him and his 3 passes were all dimes, right where they should have been, to George Kittle, to Brandon Ayuk, and to Juwan Jennings, and all 3 were dropped. So Garoppolo was overcoming the pass protection woes, but his receivers weren't catching the ball in the cold, and that was creating 3rd and 12s, and the pass protection woes got even bigger, and stuff snowballed. I mean, it was very clear from the start of this game that Jimmy Garoppolo was making some good throws. His one bad one came at the end of the first half. That was inexcusable, right? And we could criticize Jimmy Garoppolo until we're blue in the face for that one. He threw late to Kittle. You can't try that throw in these conditions. It was icy, it was windy, it was cold, and Jimmy Garoppolo paid for it. And the 49ers almost paid for it as a team, but they somehow, some way came back at the end of the game. And then he delivered the 2 throws in the final drive. On the final drive, the 49ers pass protection came through. And that's what this title is about right there. 49ers were getting overwhelmed all game long. Trent Williams played hurt. We'll see what Trent Williams' X-ray status ends up saying, because I mean, that could be brutal for the 49ers. They may have to move forward with Compton and McKivitz and Jalen Moore activated. And, you know, we can talk about that when it happens. How are they going to win an NFC championship game without Trent Williams? Because we're not sure what his status is yet. But they had a hobbled Trent Williams. They had Laken Tomlinson getting beat. They had Alex Mack, who I think struggled in pass pro in this game. Kenny Clark did some good things. And then you have a right side of the offensive line that's better at run blocking than it is pass blocking with Daniel Brunskill and Tom Compton. And it was showing. Those struggles were showing for most of this football game. But on that final drive, the 49ers held up. And Garoppolo did his part too. But first, Jimmy saw man coverage, right side. George Kittle in the slot against the linebacker Devondre Campbell for Green Bay. Garoppolo goes matchup hunting. Garoppolo finds Kittle on the slant. Kittle wins. 49ers pick up 12. 2-minute warning hits. It's 2nd down and 6 or 7. And the 49ers need another chain mover. Pressure comes in heavy. Garoppolo backs away from it. Angles, really toward his own goal line to buy some more time. As he's falling away, throws seed. A perfect pass hits Deebo Samuel in stride, 14-yard gain, gets the 49ers down to the 41. That's how you find a way around the pass protection. Your QB does what he can, but you protect and strain just enough to make it work. And the 49ers were terrible in pass protection for 54 minutes. Those final 6 in that drive, in that final 3, they made it work. And it was huge. And that's why football is poetry. Everything kind of came full circle today, guys. It was for somebody who just loves I love the game. You could tell I love the game. I just found beautiful symmetry and everything. How they say, Toto, we're not in Kansas anymore. Well, Toto, we're not in week 3 anymore. The 49ers were able to run the football. I have it right here. And they were able to stop the run. 2 things they weren't able to do in week 3. As I said in the lead up to this game, in my game previews, this was a different 49ers team. They could have won this game 21-10 had they not been dropping passes throughout the whole first quarter. They were better than the Packers in the Packers' own snowy environment, in their own icy environment. So this team is an absolute Super Bowl contender because it's not week 3 anymore. 49ers ran for 106, 29 for 106. Green Bay 20 for 67 yards. Remember, that was flipped back in week 3. So the 49ers controlled the line of scrimmage as far as game flow went, but they squandered that with all their drops. And obviously Green Bay was able to beat the 49ers pass protection and get both teams at 5 sacks. So it came down to the 49ers needing to recover from that through that special teams play. And that's what made this so poetic, is that special teams had an epic redemption for the 49ers. All right. So that kind of, I hope, summarizes a lot of the madness that we saw, the clutchness that we saw. I mean, consider this. I'm going to pop this open. The 49ers, consider their body of work recently since, I don't know, week 14, when they've really started to turn it on. The 49ers have had to beat the Bengals, the Rams, the Cowboys, and the Packers in the past 6 weeks. They've needed to beat every single one of those teams, all playoff teams, all on the road. They've done it. They've gone 4-0 on the road. This is astounding stuff, what we're seeing. This is a run for the ages that the 49ers are putting together. Don't let this slip your mind. They're facing elimination each and every week on the road in the National Football League, and they're getting the job done. I don't think I've ever seen anything like it. I mean, even the Super Bowl winning teams obviously always had some kind of level of control or home games in the playoffs. These guys, these 49ers in 2021, 2022 now, are getting the job done on the road. That's why we say it's torture. And also why we say it's one of the great wins in franchise history. All right, everybody, subscribe to the channel. If there are any questions, maybe I'll answer some. Come on, guys. Questions. Put them in there. Jimmy Garoppolo does have the clutch gene. It might remind me of those New York Giants with Eli Manning. I mean, he wasn't great as far as efficiency went, but when it mattered, he managed that drive so well. Those 2 throws at the end, it was a thing of beauty. The clock management, the accuracy, the matchup hunting, the fact that the 49ers were able to overcome those conditions in that team. I mean, the offense and the defense, the special teams feeding off each other. This was complementary football at its very best. It was impressive. It was awesome from the 49ers. I mean, torture that started as a Giants thing, but I think it's a 49ers thing. What's a better matchup for the 49ers? The Bucs or the Rams? I think the Bucs are a better matchup because the Rams, you're playing them the 3rd time. The Rams have a really good defense. I don't care about the ownership the 49ers might have. You saw it in the first half last time. The Rams can give any team problems. The Bucs are beaten up in the secondary. I think the 49ers can move the ball against them. Now, the 49ers would get a home game if they played the Rams because they'd take over SoFi Stadium. You got to balance that out, right? But I think the stars are aligning for Brady against Garoppolo. We'll see what happens in Rams-Bucs later today, but I think that's something we ought to keep our eye out for. This is a good point. Something special this year. This is something like I'm trying to illustrate this, how surreal this run is. The 49ers, if you're a 49ers fan, you just need to enjoy this. Appreciate what you have because it's This is something. The 49ers winning these games, the way that they're winning them, beating the teams they are, stringing this together, coming back from the dead within the season and within individual games. This is real stuff, guys. This is real stuff. Why don't we just sit back and laugh at the people who said that the 49ers should have punted the season in week 5 so they would get a better draft pick? How wrong they were, right? How wrong the people about playing Trey Lance instead of Jimmy Garoppolo were. How wrong I was wrong about the 49ers defense. I wasn't wrong about the quarterback stuff, but I thought the defense had a slightly above average ceiling this year. Didn't think that pass rush should be able to roar to form. Chris Kasarik got the job done. 2.5 yards per play for the Packers in the second half. And the special teams unit, I mean, I don't know if we've been wrong about them. I mean, they've not been good over the course of the season on the aggregate, but they saved the 49ers skin today. Team wins. It's hard to fully encapsulate a team win because they're doing so much right in all phases of the game. And today the 49ers needed every bit of offense, defense, and special teams they got to win. And that was awesome. 3-5, the 49ers were dead in the water, and then they had the lamb chop meal. What a turnaround. Yep, they beat the Rams. They beat the Jags. It wasn't linear. I mean, you still had Seattle and Tennessee, those losses after that. I mean, even after the win over Chicago, the 49ers regressed and lost to Colt McCoy. But they kept on grinding, and now they might be the team to beat in the NFL after they got that win over the Rams. We don't know what the Garoppolo story holds. I want to wait for the rest of the season to play out. Let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. One step in front of the other. I know that Trent had to get x-rays. That's all I know on the ankle. So we'll know a little bit more tomorrow or Monday at the latest. And this is just such a short-sighted comment right here. I don't know if somebody else is comparing Joe Montana to Jimmy Garoppolo, but I'm not trying to compare anybody right now. And since you're bringing up the comparison, in the game that Dwight Clark had the catch, did you know that Joe Montana threw 3 interceptions? I'm sure you didn't know that, just based on this comment. Joe Montana threw 3 interceptions in the game that Dwight Clark caught the winning touchdown. Joe Montana had the same interception rate, 2.7% over his career that Jimmy Garoppolo has had in 2019 and 2021. Joe Montana was not infallible. Joe Montana was, yes, the greatest of all time when he retired. The point is that you can make mistakes and they're part of a chaotic game like football. But it's how you bounce back from them and how you lead the team with your demeanor and your throws that defines who you are as a quarterback. And Jimmy Garoppolo is a winner. That's all that ends up mattering at the end of the day. That's all that people are going to remember 5 or 10 years from now. They won't remember these stupid, jealous arguments on Twitter. They're going to remember this, the 25-8 road record as an underdog. He is getting the job done. Again, Montana wasn't perfect, but he got the job done. Let's see what Garoppolo is able to do moving forward. Comparing the two is stupid, though. You just have to smirk at it. It's somebody this obsession with trying to tear down a guy who's getting the job done for the 49ers. He's just got to stop. He gets credited with nothing when they actually, win, and he gets blamed for everything when they don't. How is that fair? It's not. So let's move on. More questions. Why I think he should be. Deebo Samuel is awesome. But MVP almost always goes to a quarterback. Jimmy equals Joe Montana when it comes to moxie. Each showed when the team is behind. He has the will to carry his team to a win. It's fair. Yeah. There's attributes there, and the 49ers definitely ride off of those attributes. But as far as legacy arguments, it's too early to make a legacy argument. Why don't we let this all play out? Why don't we let the season play out? I think a lot of the Garoppolo discourse is dominated by people who are angry and embarrassed that they were so wrong about how the 49ers would handle the quarterback position this year. They were sure that Trey Lance, all he had to do was make one throw in training camp and that the 49ers would somehow hand the keys over to unproven rookie from Division II or FCS football. They didn't appreciate what Garoppolo meant to the 49ers, and he's meant a ton to the 49ers. And because they didn't appreciate that, they didn't look smart. In fact, they looked downright stupid when they kept on thinking that it was an open competition and that the 49ers would trade Garoppolo and that Lance would beat him out and that they would just, ride off into the sunset in 2021 with Trey Lance. Any actual football person, somebody with actual knowledge of what was going on, knew that this wouldn't work that way. They knew that Trey Lance would have to develop. They knew that his time wouldn't be this year unless Garoppolo got hurt. And they knew that the best chance to win came with Jimmy Garoppolo. As that's been crystallized over the course of the season, people hate to be wrong. So people will just dig into their truth and they'll be like, oh, well, they must be winning in spite of Garoppolo, all this, all that, without just recognizing that football is a team sport. And if the team is winning, the most important position, quarterback, probably has a lot to do with it, which it has. If you look at wins and losses, EPA, everything, accuracy, Garoppolo's been getting the job done. So yeah, you could compare him to Joe Montana as far as demeanor goes. And I think some of those comparisons probably hold some legitimacy because the 49ers do really feed off of Jimmy Garoppolo. But at the end of the day, he has his flaws. Every quarterback has their own strengths and their weaknesses. And the 49ers have to work within the context of what they have. But there's no question, and it's stupid that there ever was a question, that Jimmy Garoppolo is a good quarterback. He's good. Is he limited in some ways? Of course. Are the 49ers around him limited in some ways? Of course. In that pass protection, especially. Does he get the job done? Yes, of course. He is getting the job done, and he has over time, every single time he's been healthy. So that's all I have to say about that. Maybe I make a separate video. But, we should focus on the bigger picture here. Offense, defense, special teams of the 49ers got it done. This was one of the great wins in franchise history. Special teams got epic redemption. The defense was absolutely awesome. The 49ers should now be the team to beat, given the fact that their defense did that to Aaron Rodgers. And guess what? They played a game in a blizzard right there. So Jimmy Garoppolo on the offense, I think they're going to be a lot better when they play in a dome next week in LA or in Tampa Bay in Florida. The best is still to come for the 49ers offense, and it looks like the best is just starting for their defense, dominating the number 1 and 2 offenses in consecutive weeks. This is a balanced team. And now with special teams, you got all 3 phases of the game. You get, these pinch hit performances from Dante Johnson. You find a way to make the pass protection work. That's going to be a big challenge moving forward. But at the end of the day, it wasn't week 3 anymore. And football is poetry. You have to find poetry in the way that the 49ers are surviving these elimination games and delivering when it absolutely matters. They made so many mistakes through 54 minutes. They made 0 in the final 6. And that is something to pay attention to. Sometimes it's hard to make sense of it because this season has just been, storybook stuff. That's what Fred Warner said. And I agree with him. Anyway, everybody subscribe to the channel. Much more content coming. It's literally 5:30 a.m. I haven't slept at all. I have to leave in a couple hours to get to the airport. And I got to fly cross country. Got to track Rams, Bucks. Going to watch that second game. It's just going to be a wild 24 hours. I'm going to crash hard. But you guys need to subscribe and check out the article that I'm putting in the comment section as soon as I'm done with this live. Would appreciate it very much. And I hope that you all buckle up for the wild NFC Championship game weekend that we have ahead. The 49ers just did what we saw them do on short rest against a team coming off a bye. Next week, the 49ers will have a longer week of rest. So they'll have the advantage over either the Bucks or the Rams who play on Sunday. Isn't that something? So buckle up. It's going to be fun. More videos coming. Subscribe now. Click on it wherever it is on your screen. And let's get ready for some more fun 49ers analysis. Thank you, guys. I'm in a daze right now. I'm so tired. So everybody take care.